The tensions between China and the United States are now drawing in the Philippines. The Chinese embassy in Manila has accused Washington of stirring up trouble in the disputed South China Sea. Now, that is where the second Thomas Shoal is located. That's an atoll which China and the Philippines both claim. The U.S. is now publicly backing Manila in this dispute. On Tuesday, China demanded that the Philippines remove a vessel which has been grounded on the reef and used as a military outpost since 1999. Last week, the Chinese Coast Guard, as you can see right there, used water cannon to prevent a Filipino ship from resupplying a small garrison which the Philippines maintains on board that vessel. All right, I want to bring in military analyst Bradley Bowman now. He's with the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Brad, it's good to see you again. Good to have you back on the program. Taiwan is usually why you and I talk about the U.S. and China. Tonight, it's the Philippines. What do you think China is up to here?
Great to be on again. Years ago, Beijing drew this, what I would call arbitrary 9-dash line, which is widely viewed as having no foundation in international law around the South China Sea, basically saying, hey, everything inside this belongs to us, and disregarding the legitimate claims in many cases of other countries such as Vietnam and the Philippines. After asserting that line, what has China done? They found these little outcroppings, they built these islands, they armed them to the teeth, and basically said to the U.S. and others, stay out if we don't want you here. What's the goal? I think the goal is to seize resources and territory, project Chinese military power, and to push the United States and others out. And obviously other countries, including the Philippines, don't appreciate this. So a few years back, the Philippines took one of their World War II vessels and grounded it in the second Thomas Shoal, which, by the way, is inside the Philippines' exclusive economic zone, and China has no legitimate claim to. And it's been resupplying a small number of Marines there for years. And periodically, when the Philippines tries to resupply them, China comes in with its maritime militia, these fishing boats acting like fishing boats, even though they're not, or their Coast Guard, and they harass the Filipinos inside their own exclusive economic zone. The tricky thing here is, I'm being cute, is that the Philippines is a treaty ally of the United States. And so if this comes to blows, we could quickly have this escalating into a conflict between the U.S. and China.
Yeah, and that is what China is saying. China is accusing the U.S. of gathering allies now. You gather allies before you go to war, don't you?
Yeah, that's an interesting term, gathering allies. Well, newsflash, the United States and the Philippines have been allies since 1951. So we've kind of been at this a while, I would say, as Americans. And, the interesting thing is people want to be our allies. So we don't need to do a lot of gathering. They come to us because they know we don't really want to conquer their territory and stay around. And they don't have those that same level of confidence with Beijing. The
U.S. State Department put out a statement just 2 days ago saying that any attack on Philippine public vessels, aircraft, armed forces, including those of its Coast Guard in the South China Sea, would invoke U.S. mutual defense commitments, which you were mentioning. So what if the Philippines refuse to remove that ship serving as a base on the atoll, as China is demanding?
I think the Philippines have every right to send their vessels, both commercial and military, anywhere they want in their exclusive economic zone. And China has no basis to claim that they need to remove it. So, so what gives them that right to say that, and what gives them that right to take this aggressive and frankly dangerous action toward the Filipinos? So I would really turn the question respectfully back at Beijing.
The danger level, though, of something like this escalating out of control. I mean, what danger level would you give it, Brad? I mean, I know it doesn't maybe seem like it's very likely, but we know that part of the world is a place where accidents can easily happen.
Absolutely. And we've seen instances in history where small things become big when there's a lack of communication or a misunderstanding. And that's why the U.S. has really been trying to have more reliable communications between the two militaries, and Beijing has pushed back on that. So I'd say we need to get better, more reliable communication, and Beijing needs to kind of stop these extra legal claims. But the most dangerous thing here is, I think, being soft in the face of a might makes right policy. I'd say weakness in the face of this is really the most destabilizing thing.
The U.S. is strengthening its defense alliances with the Philippines and with Japan. Where does the U.S. see the threat in the medium term?
You know, the wording the Biden administration has used is made clear that really Beijing, China, is the leading or the pacing challenge. They like the word challenge. I prefer the word adversary. And they've talked about Russia being the acute threat. Bottom line is we see these two countries closer than they've been since the 1950s. We see them conducting military exercises, doing pretty aggressive sales around Japan, land-based exercises inside China, integrating forces up to the brigade level, sharing best practices with one another. And then we saw this joint combined patrol just off the coast of Alaska recently, the largest we've seen to date.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard people describe it as unprecedented and outrageous that they would even do this.
You know, they were in international waters. I might not use the word outrageous. I would say they're sending a message, despite what they're saying. They're clearly sending a message. They're saying, hey, we can work together. You know, obviously Beijing dreams of having the allies the United States has, but Russia and China are close. We see China echoing the talking points of Putin with respect to the unprovoked invasion of Ukraine. And we see their militaries working more closely together, which is a concern for the United States, because we have never had the capacity necessary to deal with two major conflicts at the same time. And if we're conducting strategic coordination, we could see a problem, for example, at the Baltics and also in the Taiwan Strait in the same time, and that would be a problem.
And before I let you go, I do have to ask you about Taiwan. You know, you are a big advocate of the U.S. turning Taiwan into a porcupine so that it doesn't get attacked or invaded by China. What's the status on that porcupine tonight?
You know, the porcupine's quills are not enough and they're not sharp enough. The Biden administration, I would say, is moving the right direction, doing almost everything I would want them to do, but too gosh darn slow. They got to speed up or we're going to have a problem.
All right. Bradley Bowman with the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. As always, Brad, good talking with you. We appreciate your insights. Thank you.
Thank you.